Learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to describe the neural pathways and brain structures involved in auditory and musical processing. Explain the brain mechanisms underlying emotional responses to music in expressive performance. Analyze the impact of musical training on brain plasticity and cognitive function. Critically evaluate neuroimaging methods used in music cognition research. Identify neurological disorders that affect musical perception and expression. Discuss innovative neurotechnological applications involving music. The neuroscience of music and expression. Overview. Module 9 provides an in-depth exploration of the neuroscience underpinning music perception, cognition, and emotional expression. This module integrates findings from cognitive neuroscience, neuroimaging, and neuropsychology to unravel how the brain processes complex musical information and how music influences brain function and structure. The focus is on elucidating the neural networks and mechanisms that support musical abilities, emotional responses to music, and the expressive communication conveyed through musical performance. This advanced module begins with an examination of auditory pathways and how sensory input from music is encoded and relayed within the brain. It then moves into detailed discussions on cortical and subcortical areas involved in pitch, rhythm, timbre, and harmony processing. The role of lateralization and hemispheric specialization in music processing is explored with consideration of individual variability. A substantial component of the module addresses the neural basis of emotional responses to music, including brain regions associated with reward, motivation, and affect regulation. The module also highlights neuroplasticity in musicians and the cognitive benefits of musical training, integrating evidence from longitudinal and cross-sectional studies. You will investigate how brain imaging techniques such as fMRI, PET, EEG, and MEG have advanced understanding of music perception and expression. The module also covers neurological disorders affecting musical abilities, such as amusia and musicogenic epilepsy, providing insights into brain behavior relationships. Finally, the module considers emerging frontiers such as neuromodulation, brain-computer interfaces, and therapeutic applications of music-based neurotechnology. Detailed content breakdown. 1. Auditory processing and neural pathways. The anatomy of the auditory system, cochlea, brainstem, auditory cortex, neural coding of sound features, frequency, intensity, temporal patterns, early sensory processing versus higher order cortical integration. 2. Brain areas involved in music perception, primary and secondary auditory cortices. Role of the superior temporal gyrus and planum temporale. Motor cortex and basal ganglia involvement in rhythm and beat perception. Prefrontal cortex in musical expectation and working memory. Hemispheric specialization. Left versus right hemisphere contributions. 3rd, neural correlates of musical, emotion, and expression. Limbic system structures, amygdala, hippocampus, nucleus accumbens, dopaminergic reward pathways and pleasure from music, insula and anterior cingulate cortex in emotional awareness, neural synchronization and entrainment during music listening and performance. 4. Neuroplasticity and musical training. Structural brain changes in musicians. Gray and white matter differences, functional connectivity alterations related to musical expertise, sensitive periods and lifelong plasticity in music learning, transfer effects, cognitive and motor enhancements beyond music. 5th, neuroimaging techniques in music research, functional MRI, fMRI, and positron emission, tomography, PET, electroencephalography, EEG, and magnetoencephalography, MEG. Advantages and limitations of different neuroimaging methods. Multimodal approaches to studying music and the brain. 6. Neurological disorders and music. Congenital and acquired amusia. Neural bases and symptomatology. Musicogenic epilepsy and brain hyperexcitability. Aphasia and music therapy in language recovery. Stroke and traumatic brain injury. Impacts on musical abilities. 7. Emerging technologies and applications. Brain-computer interfaces for musical expression. Neuromodulation techniques. TMS, TDCS, and music-based interventions. Neurofeedback and biofeedback in music therapy. Future directions in cognitive neuroscience and music.